Okay, so I'm recording this little just how to quickly use Stitch era, how to just get started and do what you need to do. When you open it, you're going to want to go to blank design document, and I have a couple open here, but you'll only have one open. And what you're probably going to want to do is go to artwork, go to open image. Your images will come up. These are like images I have or want to digitize, right? It has to be in like PNG format, so I need to do these feet. I'll pick these little feet, open that image, it pops up here. Then you're going to want to make sure that your image is the size you want, and you can just move it around like that, and then you have, it says the size is like 7 inches. That's the size of the box, not the actual picture. So that's the size of this like box here. And this grid up here is in inches, right? So you can, if you want to know about how big these will be, you can kind of match your tape measure up to this and scroll to make it the size that matches up, and then you'll have a better idea of like how big the actual image is. What else? There's hoops up here. I don't really use this, but if you wanted to just like look real quick and go, okay, 5x7 hoop, that's how big these feet are in a 5x7 hoop. But I always just go and remove it. What else before you start digitizing? Okay, I guess you're going to start digitizing, and you want it to be lined up to like 0 and 0. If it's not perfectly lined up right away or at all, don't worry. You can easily fix that after you digitize. And then, so you're going to want to go to embroidery. There's this art to stitch. It's kind of grayed out here. You're going to want to click that. It's going to take you back to image. You can go back to embroidery. I like to do art to stitch intelligent, but this is better for like a more complex design. For this, I'd probably just manually do it. I'll show you that too. You can do fill areas and borders or fill areas only. Depends on what it's for. So it just depends on if you want like a little satin stitch around it. It's not perfect. You're gonna have to tweak it. I usually do here because I find it makes a running stitch usually of this like line, which is what I want. But here it did something kind of weird. And it looks like it made a running stitch here. You can click on your objects. It made a running stitch here, but not here, which is weird. So I can just like delete this, and I could like copy this. So you right click, copy, paste. There we go. And so see, it kind of filled it in for you. But when it's like a fill area, my friend told me to use about 7 density is better. But if you go over that, your machine really can tangle. I tried to do like 8 on one part of something. My machine actually tangled up. So keep that in mind. So now these are a 7. There's no border on it. But if you want to then, you know, tweak it, let's say I'll put a satin stitch around this. And so then you can go to embroidery. You can go to create stitches. This is what I like to use. And then you click on smart design, and this comes up, and this is really helpful. So I want to do a satin stitch. So I do zigzag. Again, 6.6 is okay. I'll just stay with that. The width, so the underlay, that's what stitches out before it stitches it. I just do like a little bit of an underlay. You don't need a ton of underlay if you use a top stabilizer, and you also don't want it to be like terribly dense. So like soft is fine. So you can also get rid of your image if it's like blocking, because you have your stitches, right? Oops. Like here. And if it starts digitizing, you don't want it to, you can just like click something else really quick and then go back to create the stitches here. But I'm gonna go to artwork. I'm gonna go to edit. And then you just click here. And now you find that you're not clicked on any stitches, so you can cut the image. And if you do something you want to undo, you can just hit Control Z. But sometimes it undoes something you didn't want to undo, but so, okay, so it basically digitized it for me. I adjusted the density to make it more to my liking. And here, I always, just for a regular fill, I just stick with the default, but there's a lot of cool designs I haven't tried. And I just learned this like 2 weeks ago because my friend literally just like showed me this. I was like, oh, it helped. So I hope this helps you. So here is the zigzag stitch. It'll tell you, if you just mouse over, it tells you. For satin stitch, I just use, there's no satin option. It's just like zigzag or running is what I typically use. Or then if you want to just fill an area, I always just use this to do it manually. Adjusting the density again. So I want to do my zigzag stitch. And I want this to be very thin satin stitch around the edge. If you want it to be any type for like applique, I recommend turning this is the thickness, to like 30 to make it thick enough to do applique. But since there's no applique, just, or like undercut, you know what I mean? So this, I just keep it. I don't know what this is for. I've never messed with it and it's been fine. And you're gonna have to like, see it's doing, I don't want this here, so I go click back, then click back, and go back to here. And so then I like to do this with like a drawing tablet, and you want this to like line up, but you're gonna want to pull your you're gonna want to pull the area, the fill area stitches over that line, or else you're gonna have gapping. I'll do that here in a minute. I want to keep this like short, but I also want to kind of like keep it so it makes sense. Go here, that'll make it look weird. Here, okay, and then enter, I guess. Yeah, enter. And then there's that. It looks really thick, but it's not gonna stitch out that thick. So then you want to take, oops, okay, so then I'm gonna click edit objects. So when you want to edit, see now it's on the satin stitch. I want it on this. You want to take these little nodes and like stretch it a little bit so that it's like, you know, the bottom part is under here, so you know you won't have any gapping. And basically, I mean, what you can do then, if it's the same thing, you can just like edit object again. You can like just go like this even, but that's kind of close. I don't know if it's gonna capture everything I want it without. Okay, so then that, copy. Let me see what pastes out. Paste. Okay, yeah, so it made a new one for me. So I'm just gonna drag that over. Because they need to be mirrored. If it needs to be mirrored, I'm not sure how to do that yet. So I've just been like, so I want to delete this, cut this, and then zoom out a little bit, grab this, move it here. And then, so, oh shoot, I made two of them, that's fine. They're kind of like the same object, but they're kind of like separate too. Just get it to be like there. You want that there, and then you want to double check again that it's like lined up how you want. Okay, then I click off. I think that's okay. And then you're gonna want to do some test stitches. So far I've never had it stitch out perfectly on my first attempt. I have to go back, fix some gapping. But then you have the order at which it stitches out. And then you go to embroidery. You want to make sure your design is centered. So there's this little center design button. You just click that. It brings it to the middle for you. And then you want to sort your objects. So I want the pink parts of it to stitch out before the running stitch, which is this color. So then you go, okay, you just drag it around and move it there. Okay. And then this part's kind of weird to me, and this took me for a little bit of a loop. Your machine might not recognize these colors depending on what brand, you know? So you have to go in here, change palette, and go to whatever brand your machine is. They have Ackerman, Bridlore, Brother. This Brother's pretty common. Gutermann, Threads. I have a Janome, so I go here. And then just, you can see on the sidebar what colors are being used. So just change at least those. It doesn't matter to what color because it just depends. Be sure to, oh, I did it wrong. I only changed one. Be sure to just change your thread, but you need to do it this way because sometimes if I don't adjust the color, then my machine just reads it as any colors and makes it one object. It doesn't stop in between. So you do that. I don't know, and I'm totally answer more questions too if you need. It's been 10 minutes. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to explain this quickly. But like clearly, so then you go here and then you just double click. And however many you want to like change to your brand, you just do like that and then okay. And that's like basically what I know how to do. You know, when you save it, you want to be at home. You want to be save file as design 3. I'm changing this to piplup footsies. Okay. Then you go to embroidery. Then you can export your design. You know, make sure it's going to wherever you want it to go. Mine's already set to .jef. You can change it here. This part's probably you already know how to do because it's kind of just like saving anything. Export that. And then if it pops up and says something about threads not being continuous, do you want to fix it? Click yes, because it'll just auto fix it. You don't have to do anything. Be sure to click yes. And I think that's all. Like I never use these. I just go to create stitches, smart design, and use this stuff. But yeah, for fill and for like zigzag, you want it to be around like 6.5 to 7 to make it dense enough. I don't recommend going above 7. On like the density, on the running stitch, I like to do like 2 passes just to make sure it's like, especially if it's like when you put the part on top and then stitch the outline. I like to do that. So that's basically what you want to know. But yeah, you basically can just have it auto do it, and then like tweak it mostly, because you're gonna have to just like make sure the order is correct based on the color and all that. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions. I'll try and help. So yeah, hopefully this isn't too long, but yeah.